author, public speaker, corporate trainer, business developer. Andre Washington is and continues to be one of the most prolific thinkers of our time. Andre understands that winning is paramount. His mission now is to make certain that others understand what winning really is. And now, the undeniable, incomparable Andre Washington. Andre Washington with a life of significance.
So there's 100,000 people lined up for this race, and it's you against the rest of these people. And so you get in your starting box, you get ready to go, you hear the gun go off, and you take off like a rabbit. Now the sprint is only about 40 yards. It's not a marathon. It's not a long race. It's just a short race, 40 yards. But it's 100,000 people, winner take all. The rest perish. And so as you're running about 20 yards down, you realize there's nobody in front of you. Then as you get 30 yards downfield, you realize there's nobody in front of you. I mean, my goodness, out of 100,000 people, you're the one that's in the lead. And so the last 10 yards, you can't believe it, but the evidence is all around you. It looks like you're probably going to win this race. And so you embark upon these last 10 yards, and you find you're the one that crosses the finish line, and everybody else is behind you. So out of 100,000 people, you're the one that won this race. Let me ask you a question. If you were in a race and you won it against 100,000 other people, what would that do for your confidence? What would it do for your self-esteem? What would it do for your passion with understanding that the impossible can become possible if you prepare and you just execute? Well, if you're able to see this video, you're the one that won the race, because doctors tell us at the time of conception, there are 100,000 sperm released and only one connect to the egg. And so in that race of life, you got to the finish line and you got to be here. That was step number one. Step number two is, now that we're here, what kind of significance do you have? What is the significance of your being? Do you know exactly what your gifts are? What kind of contribution you can lend to not only yourself, your family, but also society as a whole? Do you even understand what significance actually is? I'm Andre Washington, and my purpose for this video is not to give you all the answers. It's not to have some kind of metamorphosis where you finish listening to this and all of a sudden you have all the answers to life's questions. My goal is just simply to ask you some good questions and to get you to think introspectively about your life of significance. It's interesting because the word significance comes from a Latin word which means energy and focus. So when I ask the question, what kind of significance do you have in this lifetime? What kind of energy are you letting out? What kind of energy are you receiving back? What kind of focus do you have right now? And if you ask the question, why is it even important? You see, if you don't understand who you are, if you don't understand your gifts, if you don't understand the purpose of why you have the life here on earth as far as we know it, then can you be said to be living your best life? When you tell people I'm doing the best I possibly can, is it really true? When you get an opportunity to do something better, but you're not prepared for it because you didn't have the introspective wherewithal, who do you blame? You see, for years, I used to blame everyone else but me. Well, you know, the taxes were too high, so I couldn't afford that. And then I wasn't getting paid enough for my job to afford the nice things. And I really couldn't travel other places because it was war-torn or so much crime. But on my list of things going wrong, I look back and I realize I was never on the list. So let me ask you, are you doing what you thought you would be doing this time 5 years ago? If you are, what are you going to do for the next 5 years? If you're not, what are you going to do to change it? You see, unlike everything else, unlike all the other animals that live with us on earth, we can change our future. Our next 5 years does not have to be a repeat of the last 5 years. So for example, in the wintertime, birds fly south. So why do birds fly south? The answer quite simply because they're birds. You see, it's instinct. They were trained that way and they instinctively go where they have to go when it gets cold here. But when it gets cold for us as humans, we can go north, east, west. If you were broke for the last 5 years, you don't have to be technically insolvent for the next 5 years. If you had bad association in the last 5 years, you don't have to have bad association for the next 5 years. But the question remains, if I understand I won the race against 100,000 other competitors and I have life now, if I understand that I have to live a life of significance right now, then the question may be, well, Andre, how do I get started? How do I go from where I am now to where I want to be? Well, I'm pleased to introduce to you a system that's been working for quite a number of years for people and also businesses. It's called taxing. Think, assess, execute. What's interesting about this system is it only goes clockwise because time as we know it only goes forward. The word think means to invent and create. The word assess means to attach a value to, and the word execute means to go do and or accomplish. Now, your brain has electrons. When you send out a message at a certain rate of vibration, it gets a chance to lock into your feelings. So then it sends out a message to the universe. So for example, if you say to yourself, I'm never going to have enough money, the rich will be anybody but me, I'm going to always be broke, and you feel that way, you send out a message to other like signals of same vibration. That means you create your own reality. Now, footnote right there, because it is true that in a free society, you can create your own reality. So when your mind is set upon a certain thing and you send out these vibrations, you get a chance to see realities coming your way that are of your mindset. Now, if you don't like what's happening in front of you, you must ask yourself introspectively, what am I thinking? With my associates, what do they have me talking about? With my job, what does it have me becoming? Because it's not what you do at your job that matters, it's what you become. Again, a life of significance. So when you examine your energy, when you examine your focus, how are you and what are you pleased about? If you begin to exercise taxing and you think and you write down, different creations, different inventions, different ways to solve problems, the focus of vision and how you want to get there, it begins to give you different thought patterns. And then when you start assessing a value to that thought pattern, so you say to yourself, I want to become a business owner.